All right, happy Tuesday, y'all. Sorry that I could not be at school today. Just had a couple of things going on and decided to take the day off so I could get it all done in one day. So, the first thing that I want to do is go over the factoring quiz that you took yesterday. So, at this time, if your substitute has not already done so, please go ahead and distribute out the quizzes. Um, if you were not here yesterday, there is a quiz, a blank quiz with your name on it. Once you get that quiz, just take yourself and your calculator into the next room over, room 356 with Miss Quicker. She has agreed to host you while you finish your quiz. Once you finish that, you're welcome to come on back in and just drop it into either the second, third, or fourth period tray up by the door like you normally would. I'll get that graded and brought back or back to you as soon as possible. The rest of you, let's go over this quiz now. Okay, so these are multiple choice, and I want to talk to you about like some strategies to help tackle a multiple choice type of assessment like this. So for number one, we're factoring v squared minus 2v minus 3. Now, since there is no leading coefficient, it's just 1, we can just immediately look at numbers that multiply to negative 3 and add to negative 2. Now, here's the deal. We know that if they multiply to a negative, the signs are going to be different, one positive and one negative. Whenever you have a multiple choice, before you even do all the math, go ahead and just cross out anything that doesn't make sense. So I need numbers that multiply to a negative 3. Well, negative 10 and 5 won't multiply to a negative 3. 5 and negative 4 also won't multiply. Negative 1 and 3, okay, that could multiply to negative 3, so we'll leave it alone. Negative 1 and negative 3, that will multiply to a positive 3, so I'm going to cross out D. And positive 1 and negative 3, those could also, so we've already eliminated 3 out of our 5 options. Now, we need these numbers to multiply to negative 3 and also add to negative 2. Well, if they multiply to a negative 3 and add to a negative 2, the only pair of factors that works is E. Negative 3 and positive 1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Let's do the same thing for number 2. Now for number 2, before I even start worrying about the 6, look at this. They multiply to a positive 6 and add to a positive 5. If they multiply to a positive and add to a positive, they have to both be positive. So let's cross out any factor that has a negative. That eliminates A and B and C and D. Wow, we've already eliminated it all the way down to E, which is the correct answer. Again, if they multiply to a positive 6 and add to a positive 5, then both factors are positive. E was the only option that had two positive factors. And it works. 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 times 2 is 6. Number 3, b squared minus b minus 12. So if they multiply to a negative 12 and add to a negative 1. Let's look at these factors. If they multiply to a negative, I have to have a positive and a negative. That will let me eliminate b. And that's it. But I also have to have them multiply to a negative 12. Well, negative 2 and 8 make negative 16. Negative 5 and 9 make negative 45. Negative 6 and 8 make negative 48. The answer is A. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Now 4 and 5 are a little tricky. These are both the difference of squares. V squared minus 100, V squared is a perfect square, 100 is a perfect square. Anytime you see these where it's just a perfect square minus another, just focus on what's the square root of 100, plus or minus 10. The answer is D. V plus 10, V minus 10. Be careful about option B and option C. We would only use those if we had the exact same two factors twice. But V squared minus 100 factors into V plus 10 and V minus 10. The same kind of thing works for number 5. V squared minus 25, which is a perfect square. The answer is D, v plus 5, v minus 5. Now 6 is also a little tricky. X squared plus 2x plus 1. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 2. Well, listen, the only number or pair of numbers that multiplies to 1 is 1 and 1. And conveniently, 1 and 1 also add to 2. So my factors are x plus 1 and x plus 1. So why do I not see that as an option? Now I see x minus 1 and x plus 1, but I need to put 2 plus signs. And yeah, it's not A because there's no 5 involved, and it's not E because there's no 4 involved. C, negative x plus 1. No, these are both positive x plus 1, so it's not C. The answer is D. It's x plus 1 squared. We have x plus 1 multiplied by itself. That's just x plus 1 squared. To recap, the first 6 answers were E, E, A, D, D, D. E, E, A, D, D, D. Numbers 7 through 12. Now these started having some leading coefficients. Now your first step should always be to look for a GCF, but looking at number 7, 3x squared, 28x, and 49, there's no GCF there. So we need to do that slide and divide method, where I take the leading coefficient and multiply it to the back. So take this 3 and multiply it to 49. That gives me x squared plus 28x plus 147. Now, I need numbers that multiply to a positive 147 and add to 28. So what I'm doing here is I've rewritten this into something that is much more easily factored. Now, if they multiply to a positive and add to a positive, I do know that both of my factors are going to be positive. So process of elimination, I know the answer is already D. A has a negative, so does B, so does C, and so does E. Again, if they multiply to a positive and the sum is positive, both factors are positive. But I do want to show you, of course, how to get down to this answer, especially if you don't have a multiple choice sort of activity in the future. Okay? So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 147 and add to positive 28. Like I said, I know my two factors are positive, so I'll say x plus and x plus. Now, I don't know all the factors of 147 off the top of my head, so I want to go ahead and show you the calculator trick for this one. We're going to go to y equals and type in the value of c, 147, divided by x. Then go to your table. Here we've got every possible pair of numbers that multiplies to 147. So we just need the pair that also adds to 28. So 1 and 147 make 148. 2 has a decimal. 3 and 49 make 52. 4, 5, and 6 all have decimals. 7 and 21, those numbers add to 28. So I know the factors of x squared plus 28x plus 147 are x plus 7 and x plus 21. Now, for this slide and divide method to work, I need to take both of these factors, 7 and 21, and divide them by the 3 that I slid to the back. So 7 over 3 and 21 over 3. Now this first factor, 7 does not evenly divide by 3. So what I need to do there is move this up in front of the x to get 3x plus 7. The other factor, 21 divided by 3, that is just 7. So x plus 7 is the second factor. You'll see that lines up perfectly with option D. Number 8, 2k squared minus 19k plus 45. There is no GCF here, so take 2 and slide it to the back. K squared minus 19k plus 2 times 45 is 90. Now, they multiply to a positive and add to a negative, so they both have to be negative. Let's go ahead and eliminate a couple of our options here. Again, if they multiply to a positive, the signs match. Since they add to a negative, they're both going to be negative. So I can go ahead and get rid of A and C and D. So my only options left are B and E. Now, of those two options, I mean, you've got a 50-50 shot if you just guessed. I feel like there's an educated guess here too, but I'll get to that point in a second. Let's go ahead and factor this. Factors of positive 90 that add to negative 19, that's definitely negative 9 and negative 10. Take each of those factors and divide it by 2. Now 9 divided by 2, bring that 2 up front to get 2k minus 9. Okay, the answer is obviously E at this point. K minus 10 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. And so the answer was E. The other way that I could have said, hey, there's an educated guess here, is the numbers have to multiply back to 45. So negative 9 and negative 5 multiply to positive 45. But negative 7 and negative 7 would multiply to positive 49. So that would also help you eliminate option B and get you down to only the correct answer. Number 9, 5m squared plus 19m plus 18. So, no GCF, slide 5 to the back. M squared plus 19m plus 90. Well, I don't like saying m squared, 19m. Ugh. Okay, so I'm looking for factors of positive 90 that add to positive 19. This is eerily similar to the one we just did. That is m plus 9 and m plus 10. 9 times 10 is 90, 9 plus 10 is 19. But now we're dividing each of those by 5. Now 9 does not evenly divide by 5, so we're going to have 5m plus 9, 5m plus 9, and m plus 2. And so that would be D. And again, you could have kind of eliminated some of your options. We needed numbers that multiplied to a positive and added to a positive, so that would have eliminated B and C and E. You also needed them to multiply to 18. 4 and 1 make 4, but 9 and 2 make 18, so it wouldn't have been A. Okay? Number 10, I've got 7, 57, and 8. There's no GCF. So take that 7, slide it to the back. We get x squared minus 57x, and 7 times 8 is 56. Now, I need numbers that multiply to a positive 56 and add to a negative 57. That means they're both negative, which is going to go ahead and let me eliminate A and B and E. Again, they both have to be negative. Now, at this point, I can already kind of tell the answer is C, because 1 and 8 multiply to 8. Negative 1 and negative 8 multiply to 8. So it's not going to be D. The answer is C. But let's show how to get that. Factors of 56 that add to negative 57, it's just negative 56 and negative 1. Take each of those numbers and divide them by the 7 that we slid to the back. Now the first factor, 56 divided by 7 is just 8. But for the second factor, I'm going to have to slide that 7 up front to get 7x minus 1. Now you can see I wrote my answer in a different option, or a different order. X minus 8 followed by 7x minus 1. But the correct answer is C. It really does not matter if you have the 7x minus 1 first or second, but I've noticed that for a lot of these multiple choice activities, they do write the binomial with the extra coefficient up front. Okay, number 11. 10x squared, 19x, and 6. Still no GCF. So let's take that 10 and slide it to the back to get x squared plus 19x plus 60. Now I'm looking for factors of 60 that add to 19. I know they're both going to be positive, so let's go ahead and eliminate option A, option B, option E. Oops. Let's see. Now we got to be careful here. Option C has a GCF of 2. Option D does not. We didn't have a GCF of 2 here, so it's not going to be option C either. Where would we get the GCF of 2 if there wasn't one to begin with? So the answer is D. But I want to show you how to get here. Again, you're not always going to have multiple choice. So let's show you how to work through this. Factors of 60 that add to 19. How about 15 and a 4? 15 times 4 is 60. 15 plus 4 is 19. We have to divide each of those factors by 10. However, neither 15 or 4 divide evenly by 10. But what we need to do instead is before we swing those denominators up front, we need to reduce those fractions. Now, if you can do this in your head and say, okay, 15 tenths is the same thing as 3 halves, 4 tenths is the same thing as 2 fifths, if you can do that, you're good to go. If not, let me show you how to do it in your calculator. From the home screen, we're just going to type in 15 divided by 10. Hit this math button, and the first option, either hit enter or hit 1, says, hey, rewrite 15 divided by 10 as a simplified fraction. Now that I've reduced the fractions, I can swing the denominators up front. That gives me 2x plus 3 as one of my factors, and 5x plus 2 as the other factor. 2x plus 3 and 5x plus 2. Hot dog, they even gave it to me in the same order that I got it. Okay, number 12. 18, 57, 108. Now, scanning through these options, I mean, there's definitely a GCF, but we can still eliminate some of these. Now, 18 and 57, okay, 57 is an odd number, so my GCF can't be an even number because an even doesn't come from an odd. So I can go ahead and eliminate option A and option D. I can also eliminate option C because 5 is definitely not the GCF from 18, 57, or 108. So I'm down to another one of those. It's a 50-50 shot if I just want to make an educated guess. But unfortunately, there is a GCF, and I don't know if I have enough information right now to just go ahead and throw an answer out there, especially considering how similar these two options look. I do know the GCF has to be 3 because process of elimination tells me that. So let's take a 3 out of all this and get left with, let's see, 18n squared divided by 3 is just 6n squared. Negative 57n divided by 3 is negative 19n. And negative 108 divided by 3 is negative 36. Now, there's obviously no more GCF. I took the greatest common factor out. So, slide and divide. Slide that 6 to the back. I'm still going to have this 3 here, but it's going to be times n squared minus 19n minus 216. Okay. I'm looking for things that multiply to negative 216 and add to negative 19. Now, since it's a negative 216 as my product, I know I'm going to have one positive and one negative factor. Now you can use your calculator trick, type in negative 216 divided by x. I'll just go ahead and tell you the factors are positive 8 and negative 27. Negative 27 plus 8 is negative 19. Negative 27 times 8 is negative 216. Okay, now divide each of these 8 and 27 by 6. And at this point, we've got to reduce our fractions. 8 over 6 reduces to, let's see, 4 over 3. And 27 over 6, see, those are both divisible by 3, which reduces down to 9 over 2. Now I can swing both those denominators up front, and I end up with 3 times 3n plus 4 times 2n minus 9. 3 times 3n plus 4 and 2n minus 9. Now I do have my answer written slightly differently from option E. I have 3n plus 4, and 2n minus 9 in a slightly different order, but the correct answer is E. Let me just summarize this, or go back over all the correct answers. From starting at number 1, the answers are E, E, A, D, 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 E, D, C, D, E. Okay, if you have any questions about your quiz grade, just let me know. Definitely save your quiz, don't lose it if you have a question about it. At this point, I want to go ahead and talk about what comes up next. So at this point, you should have about an hour left of class. You need to hop onto a Chromebook and go to your Google Classroom and look for this assignment under the Week 12 tab. It should have those little caution signs and have just today's date, March 23rd, 2021. That is going to take you to a Google form that has 50 matching questions. It's going to be just a big review, or it is a big review of all of the quadratic stuff we've talked about so far. So the first couple sections are just matching a vertex form equation to its graph, and then a bunch of factoring after that. There are going to be some little links with each section to take you to somewhere that has a couple of hints. I need you to use your Chromebook for this. The Chromebook cart is in the room, so you need to be using a Chromebook for this. It's actually in locked mode, the Google form is, so it won't even let you do it on your phone. The reason is, I've had too many issues on these days where there's a sub of people who use their cell phone and then like 30 minutes into it, they leave the Google form for just a second to check a Snapchat or something, and then everything is just lost. So, use your Chromebook. The other thing, now you should have enough time to do this. You have about an hour left of class. If you do not finish, do not exit. If you don't finish, right before the bell rings, just scroll to the very bottom and click submit. You don't need to go and click a bunch of random answers and go through. You need to just submit what you have, otherwise everything will be lost. Okay? If you get called out early or anything like that, just submit what you've got. Okay, if you have any questions on this, please just let me know, whether that be on your quiz or on the matching thing. If you finish your matching activity early, you have whatever time left to work on Delta Math. If you have a pair of headphones, you can work on your Edpuzzle as well. I know you guys will be great for your substitute today, and I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday. Have a good day.